Hi, welcome. This is Scott, and this is episode 140 of Scott the Woz, The Great Mysteries of Gaming. This was an interesting one. This is generally this is one of my favorite episodes that I've done. I'm very very happy with how this turned out, just based on the topic was interesting, and also just like the overall execution I thought was really really fun. And I'm a big fan of a lot of the jokes in this one. I love the comedy. It has some of my favorite lines in the entire series. And I've had the idea for this episode the entirety of the year. If I remember, people pointed out during the Too Many Games 2019 panel that I did. I mentioned that, like, hey, for episode 150, it's gonna be just kind of like a Christmas special this year. Don't expect something on the level of its awesome baby, which was true. And it was. I think it was at a very similar quality to its awesome baby, but obviously, like, in terms of the context and the overall just the stakes of its awesome baby, where it's like, oh man, it's time to save the world. Bargain Bin Christmas was a lot more grounded in terms of its in terms of how big of an event it was, or big of an episode it was. But I did say, hey, the Halloween special should be pretty big. And yeah, I was referring to this one, and it was because at the time I wanted this to be a murder mystery on a train. I wanted to do this on a train, because I went on like this murder mystery like train ride sort of thing, where it was a dinner train where you would go on this train, and they would serve you dinner, and they would play like this dumb little cheesy murder mystery thing. But I saw that they would allow you to like rent out the train for yourself. Like you could just rent it out, and you could be the only people on the train. And I thought, like, man, what if I rent it out and then we film on the train, so then it could be this fun little like it's a murder mystery on a train. Of course, there would be a lot of logistical problems with that, considering that trains are very loud, or at the very least, like, it's just like we would have to film very quickly, because I didn't know how long that train ride would have lasted. And also, me and my friends kind of know, whenever we film together, it'll either last very long, or it'll still be like a decent amount of time, but we'll get it done quicker than we thought. Great Mysteries of Gaming was done quicker than I think we thought it would have been. I think we started around 5 o'clock, and we finished around 8 or 9 that night, which wasn't that bad. We've definitely done worse, but I think I was surprised with how quickly we finished that. But as time went on, like, it was getting closer and closer to basically the deadline that we could have like filmed at, like like late October. And I just couldn't find any trains like open for like us filming in, or just like trains that could just like we could just film in like the car or something like that without it moving or something like that. So like that was just the main problem. Like, the original concept was, oh, we would do a murder mystery on a train, but that just wasn't turning out. It just wasn't coming together. Some of my friends suggested, like, oh, you can just do like green screen or something like that, but I'm very adamant that green screen is useful in specific instances, like when it's just like a short little gag, when it's just something that's just like, you just want to immediately do something, or you want to give like the illusion that you're somewhere else, or it is very useful in very specific instances. But if I would do this entire video on green screen, that would be it would just lose a lot of its oomph. You need to be in a certain place for the episode to work. like it couldn't we couldn't have just pretended that we were on a train. We couldn't have just pretended we were in a mansion. We had to be in a specific place, which was this place, which is a community center, that we filmed various things at. And in actuality, like I had to put up wood panel wallpaper, and you can obviously see a lot of like the a lot of like the whatever air bubbles or just creases and stuff like that. Obviously, like it's not it's not the most convincing, but you know, it's part of the charm. I think it's like something where like I do like the episodes to feel very high quality, but I also do enjoy when they feel like, oh, like they have this do-it-yourself mentality. And that's Will doing Chet Shaft there, and he couldn't, he was just not available. He was traveling somewhere the day we were filming this. So and actually, like the person that was originally going to die was going to be Jeff, who plays he played K Swiss, and it's a Bargain Bin Christmas. I was originally asking him if he wanted to be involved in this, and it was going to be Will was just going to be a part of the group. Like he was just gonna be a part of like the gang that's just all at the party, and I think Jeff was gonna be like the guy that invited everybody, and I don't know how it was probably just gonna be like a totally new character or something like that. But Jeff couldn't do it that day, and Will also couldn't do it that day, but I did like the idea of like Chet Shaft coming back for this. And I ended up thinking it was a lot funnier for Will to be like not there, because I came up with the idea of like, oh, it's like a remote thing, or it's like, you know, like, oh, he only appears on the TV, and I think it came out for the better that way, because like that's something where you do have to always work within the limitations of like everybody's schedules, but sometimes that does bring new jokes. The fact that like Will wasn't there but still died, and like there was a murderer in the building. I always really liked that. But that was it, like overall filming like in this room, like we've definitely worked in this worked with this center before, and at the time of filming, there was one other party in there, and it was a wedding reception, or like a basically like the whatever, like the bridal party, or like basically the group of people who were a part of the wedding. It was like a day before the wedding. They were all like kind of like coming together and just like celebrating, or just like, I don't know, it was like the the rehearsal dinner, basically. People, you know, they were all there basically in the room next to us, and I love that. Like, it's just like, out of all people that were there, I guarantee so many people definitely saw a bunch of these dumbass kids walking around in suits, one of them in a cop uniform, and just like doing their thing, just walking around this building. And that's why, like, near the end, at the end of the episode, where there's where it's kind of like Steel Wool kind of reveals himself to be the killer, we were kind of like battling with the fact that like they were all leaving around that time, so you may be able to hear like a lot of people just like walking in and out of like rooms, and you might hear like random talking in the background. That's the wedding party, and we couldn't really do anything about that, so that's unfortunate, but overall, I am very happy with how this one turned out. I remember Eric specifically mentioned when when we were trying to film something, he was just like, remember when we were trying to do this on a train? And I cannot imagine that ever working well. So I am pretty happy that that we just ended up doing this at the community center, like we did with the homecoming episode, and it's a Bargain Bin Christmas and all of that. The overall setup wasn't that bad. Sam helped me set this all up, as in I think I set up the table and that kind of stuff, but he came over like an hour or two before, and he helped me set up the wallpaper, which that wallpaper is a bitch. I reused it for the Dark Age of Nintendo episodes, because you know, all those scenes at the therapist's office were just filmed in my living room. They were just filmed in the exact same area that like the shots that me and the guys are just sitting there playing the games at, the couch area. I would just move the couch every time and just set up that wallpaper. And that wallpaper is sticky and smells so poignant. It is ridiculous. But probably one of my favorite things I did with this episode that just shocks me every time, that is something that I'm just immensely proud of. It's just this mix of like, so it's a skit and it's it's mixing a skit, story, sketch comedy, whatever you want to call it. It's mixing these very heavy comedy sections with the video game review, retrospective, informative section. Like immediately shifts back to this, and it's very tricky to do that and for it to not be an incredibly annoying thing for the viewer. And it shocked me to see like the amount of likes on this episode and the amount of people who just really liked it, and it really made me happy to see that people liked this stuff, because I'm very particular about this type of comedy in Scott the Woz episodes, especially ones including like More Than Just Me, where it's like, oh, I'm playing off of people like this one and the Christmas specials, and It's Awesome Baby, Dark Age of Nintendo, that kind of stuff. I'm very particular about it. I have a lot of rules when it comes to like comedy in these episodes, where I don't reference the fact that it's a YouTube channel. That's something that I probably broke a few times early on. There's times when it's heavily alluded to, where like I'll be like, hey, you should tell me down below. I don't really think I say down below. I probably said it a few times in like early episodes, but ever since probably like halfway through season 1, like probably like 10, 12 episodes in, I started doing this kind of style where it is very much like, you can see like the wallpaper just cuts off there. I think I just stopped referring to it, and I just kind of made it like, I'm kind of like in my own little world in these episodes, which I think really helps them stay apart. And it also helps these episodes kind of always feel timeless, where they would work in multiple contexts. You could put these episodes on TV. You could put them in. You could turn them into audio only things, and they would still work. You could put them in a movie theater, and it'd still work. You could do so many different things with them. A movie theater would be a bit excessive, but you know what I mean. And I also don't do a lot of like pop culture references in the form of like just blatantly referencing something for the sake of referencing something. A lot of people said this episode was a straight up parody of the movie Clue. I was more so kind of going for like and then there were none scenario, because I read that book in school and I liked it. But I never watched Clue. I think I've seen a bit of it, but I never watched it. But obviously, like I was inspired by the concept of it. But I wanted this episode to be its own thing. I don't want to do stuff like a pop culture reference where it's something along the lines of just quoting that movie and then just kind of, like that's the joke, quoting the movie and that's the joke, or just parodying it and that's the joke, kind of making fun of it. I think it's fine to do stuff like this where it's more so, if anything, it's more of a parody of the entire genre of a murder mystery, kind of thing. And I think, I'd rather do something like that, where it's more of something that can exist alongside those things while also poking fun at the genre as a whole, rather than the entire point of its existence is to make fun of this one specific creation somebody made, or just reference it or something like that. I never like doing that, because I want the comedy to be very accessible to anybody. I don't want to make it to, I don't want to reference like current internet trends or other like major like movie scenes or television shows or anything like that, because I want anybody and everybody to be able to watch this stuff and enjoy it and laugh at it and all that. And this was a weird scene. Yeah, there it is. I don't have an explanation for why that happened. It was really weird. It was something where every time I'd export that clip, it would always mess up like that. and I don't know why. I can definitely, if I would ever remaster this episode, and like I wouldn't really change much. There wouldn't really be much I would really want to change. It would just mainly be fixing up little errors like that. I'm sure I can find a way to fix that, but it was getting to the point that I tried to fix it so many times, and I was just like, it's not a big deal. Like a lot of people would just chalk it up to like, oh, this was just like an uploading problem, because videos do that all the time on YouTube, where it's just like it was just the internet connection. The difference is this wasn't just the internet connection. This was just the whole damn video that messed up there. So I don't know what happened there. It was just something where the clip kind of distorted. But you got the idea of it, so it was like it didn't ruin it. It was just kind of like, okay, well, that messed up there. But yeah, so I'm very picky about the style of comedy in these videos, in these episodes, and I think this episode really does showcase exactly what I want out of the comedy, and like I said, the response was amazing. I was absolutely just befuddled by like how much people did like this episode, because a lot of times you're kind of told when you create video game related content online that, oh, like I hate when people incorporate skits in their episodes or their videos, and I was always a little worried. That's why a lot of times whenever I would do stuff that was a lot more story based and a lot more skit heavy, I would usually do it on stuff that nobody cared about. Like that's why A Very Matanoe Christmas was very skit heavy, because it was about Matanoe, and like I don't really think anybody actively wanted like a full blown retrospective and review of Matanoe. And like that's why It's Awesome Baby was so massive, and it's also like that's where part of the humor comes from, the fact that these episodes are so elaborate, based off of things that nobody else is talking about and nobody else really cares about. And this was like one of the first times that I did an episode that was so skit based. And I just say that for a lack of a better term. I don't really refer to these as like skits. It's more so kind of like, it's almost like the video game portion is an A plot, and the comedy portions are more of a B plot. But that's the thing, like the entire episode is comedy based, with like information and review and retrospective kind of sprinkled, obviously in. But it's more so like the video game portion is an A plot and the murder mystery is a B plot. It's a little weird to call it skits when like I kind of refer to skits as like something where it's like sketch comedy, like Saturday Night Live has skits or something like that. This is more so like it's the B plot, and it shocked me how much people didn't mind this and actually really liked it, and I was so happy to see that, because that really made me feel like I could do so much more, and that people didn't mind, at the very least didn't mind this stuff. And if I could change anything, I wish we incorporated more of a emphasis on clues throughout the episode. There were a few. The one that I saw nobody mention was the fact that I believe when Eric or Rex Mose is like banging on the beer, when his name is called, we specifically did a thing where the knife is, the handle is pointed towards where Steel Wool was at, which implies that that is his knife. He holds that knife, and it's pointed towards Rex and Jeb Jab and everybody else, so that implies like, oh man, he's there. And there's also you see Steel Wool kind of like lurking in like some windows, and you see like he would hold like the glow stick sort of thing, and that was usually kind of in the area where like where people would die. I wish we could do more of those. I really wish we could put more clues throughout the episode, because they are there, but they aren't as prevalent as I wish they were. But other than that, and the distorted clip, this is like one of my favorites. I'm really proud with how this turned out. It's not exactly what I envisioned at first, but I think that was for the best. And it may not have been like the most Halloween themed, because like it's not like inherently generically Halloween themed, but you know, it's still spooky. It's still a murder mystery, which I think makes it a good Halloween special. And it changes things up because I've never really seen a lot of people do Halloween specials that are murder mysteries in the video game genre. So yeah, I'm very happy with how this turned out, and I'm ecstatic that people enjoyed it so much. I made it so much more exciting to make more stuff like this. So thank you all for watching, and I appreciate it more than you'll ever know.